I'm here today with a very special recipe for you guys. Christmas is coming, as I'm sure you all know, and we have puppies on the way. They're actually due around the 26th of this month, so I've got to hurry up and get ready with all my Christmas, not necessarily all my baking, but absolutely my fruitcake, because it does tend to sit for a few weeks for sure. So while I was searching for a nice recipe, I came across a wonderful one, and it was on the Rock Recipes site. It was called Old English Fruitcake. So I'm basically using that recipe, but instead of golden raisins, I couldn't get golden raisins. I'm using dried cranberries, and I got that idea from a lady. It's called Bonita's Kitchen, and she's from Newfoundland, and she's on YouTube, I believe. So and I really liked how she showed how to wrap the cake with the rum cloth, which I've done before. My problem with the recipe was I was trying, I remember as a child my mother cooking the cake on the stove and then baking it in the oven, and most recipes I found didn't call for it to bake on the stove or cook on the stove, except for the one from Rock Recipes. So that's what we did. I did a lot of the prep work because it is a lot of work, and it's a little bit of an expensive cake to make, but it's sure worth every bit of the effort, and it is absolutely delicious. I'm just going to show you what I have in my pot already, and then I'm going to tell you. Can't really see, it's kind of dark and delicious, but so in that pot I melted 3/4 cup of butter, and to that I added 1 1/4 cup of prunes, dried and chopped, 1 1/4 cup of dates, dried and chopped, 1 1/2 cups of raisins, 1 1/4 cup of golden raisins was what I called for. I used cranberries, and then 1 1/4 cup of currants, and yeah, so we took that, put that in the pot with our brown sugar, which was 1 cup of brown sugar, and all of our spices. I'm going to post the recipe later for you. 2 teaspoons of allspice, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, 2 teaspoons of dry ginger, a teaspoon of cloves, 2 teaspoons of nutmeg. I always use fresh. It called for 3 tablespoons of cocoa, and I wasn't really paying attention to my recipe, and I actually added it into the pot. I think it's supposed to be added in with the flour, but I really don't think it's going to make that big of a difference, because it was 3 tablespoons, and all it did was make an even more delicious smell go through my house. So yeah, so we put that in there, a 1/2 cup of Kahlua or a coffee liqueur. If you don't have that, you can certainly add like a 1/2 cup of really strong coffee. It called for the zest and juice of 2 oranges, but my oranges were huge. Like the other one was actually even bigger than this one, and it had a ton of juice in there. So I just used the one. So I guess you can either use 1 or 2 depending on the size of your oranges. So what we did was we put all that in the pot, and we brought it up to a boil, and then we gently simmered it, just very gently, for about 10 minutes, and then cool for about 30 to 45 minutes. And I'm thinking that's because I'm going to add some eggs now. So this is our cooled product right here. To that now I'm going to add 3 slightly beaten eggs. I always put my eggs in a bowl first, just because you never know, you might get that shell in there, and that's really disgusting. I don't know if you've ever bitten a shell before, but it's like the worst thing ever. So yeah, so just lightly beat them, and we're going to mix them right in. There we go. Nice and thick and heavy. It smells divine. I guess from all the spices, the cocoa, the Kahlua, yeah, just everything. And this is a cake that you would probably only make once a year, because like I said, it is a lot of work. So yeah, so we got that in there. we're going to sift. So I was supposed to sift my 3 tablespoons of cocoa in with this 1.5 cups of flour, but I already added in here. So into this I have a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, and I'm just going to just whisk that around a little bit. Now to that I'm going to add, it was a 1/2 cup of dried ground hazelnuts or almonds. I could only get almonds, so in goes that. I'm going to whisk that around as well. Now this is going to go into the pot with all this other stuff. We're just going to kind of fold it in. You don't want to mix it too much because it's a heavier cake, and you don't want to deactivate the soda and the powder. And so just keep it just to a minimum, just until you see that, you know, the flour, the stuff is all incorporated in there. So now what we're going to do is, so overnight it also called for, it was, let me see here, 1 cup of glacé cherries. They're these ones in the little tubs. They're already got some sugar and stuff on them, I guess. And so I used red and I used some green just for color. And then it also called for a cup of citrus peel. That's just like a dried citrus peel. I never brought it over to show you, but I'm sure most of you know what that is. If you don't, I'll take a picture of it and put it in the comments. Yeah, so all of that is in this bowl. And into that I added a 1/4 cup of Newfoundland Screech. If you're going to get rum, it's just as well to get Screech. So you can also do this with brandy or whatever, but I like the flavor of Screech in there, so that's what I used. So a 1/4 cup went in on top of these cherries that were chopped, and I covered it and I let it soak overnight. So this is going to give it a really nice boozy flavor. Now we're going to put that right in there with that. I don't know if you guys know the history of Screech or not. It's got quite a history, but I think it was a Jamura rum. Originally, back years ago, it was imported to Newfoundland, something to do with like a triangular trade with the West Indies and stuff. And basically what happened was they traded salt fish for the rum, and it was used to feed slaves over in, you know, the Caribbean and Americas and stuff. So anyways, it became quite popular in Newfoundland. And then they commercialized it all, like as far as, you know, getting screeched in and things like that. It's pretty fun when you just kiss the old ugly old cod right on the lips. Any of you that want to become an honorary Newfoundlander. So, got that in there. Then we're going to add also, these are pecans. 1.5 cups. I lightly toasted them first. So basically all I did was I took my frying pan, I threw in a tablespoonful of butter, I put these on. Be careful you don't burn them or anything. Basically just warm them up, toss them around a little bit, get them kind of toasted, and yeah, and there they go. The more I put in here, the heavier it's getting. And the more delicious it's looking. Don't want to lose that pecan. My God, pecans are outrageously priced these days. I think I paid close to $11 for about maybe 1 3/4 cups, maybe. So maybe a trip to your local bulk barn might work. But they're worth it, I promise. Look at this. If you could smell my kitchen right now, like it's unbelievable. So I'm going to take that now. Just let me double check, make sure I have everything done. Yeah. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to pour it into. It calls for a greased pan. I have, you see these things before. It's a reusable loaf and pan liner. It actually comes with a loaf one and a pan one. Basically it looks like this, and it just fits right inside your springform pan. There's no need to grease. It pops right out, never sticks. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I highly recommend. I got it at Home Hardware. So get yourself one if you can find one. It saves you lots of elbow grease and lots of pan too. So I'm just going to set this here. Sorry for the racket. And I'm going to now take this heavy, heavy pot and pour it into this pan. And as you can see, it makes quite a big cake. Bigger than I thought even. I don't expect it to rise too much. A couple of reasons. One being that it's only got a half a teaspoon of baking soda and a half a teaspoon of baking powder. And the other reason being is that it's super heavy, so it's kind of impossible for that much, baking soda and powder to arise a heavy cake such as this to a great height. So yeah, basically, I'm just going to smooth this out now. I was looking online. A couple of people were like decorating it after, and then a few people were decorating it beforehand. So the recipe on the Rock website says you can decorate it before it goes in the oven. So I think that's what I'm going to do now. Just decorate it, and then afterwards, when it comes out, I'm going to, maybe I'll do another little video for you, just so you can see how you wrap it up in the rum soaked cheesecloth, which I have actually mine ready to go right here. And in this is a 1/4 cup of Screech. So when the cake is baked and stuff, it's going to get wrapped and stored for a couple months for sure. So, got that smoothed out. I think you can see. I'm going to now take, I think I'll just take some cherries, and I'll probably just cut them in half and place some kind of around the middle. And then I'm going to take, I had some extra pecans, and I didn't bother to toast those ones because they were going in the oven. So we left them untoasted. So we got some red cherries. Let's use some green cherries for color because it got to be pretty. And did you guys actually have Christmas cake? A lot of people hate dark Christmas cake or fruit cake in general. A lot of people hate spices such as cloves and allspice. I have a friend that hates cinnamon, Marion. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know, to each their own, but for me, growing up, it was one of my absolute favorites. It keeps for a very long time. You could even keep it in the freezer for like ever. Yeah, and I don't know, it's delicious, I think. So I'm just taking these pecan halves and I'm placing some of those around. If you were to do this afterwards, what I would suggest is to take like, I don't know, 1/4 cup or a few tablespoons of an apricot jam and add like, you can add like, I don't know, a teaspoon or so of water to that. Warm it up on the stove and put your, you know, your nuts and your cherries and stuff on top, and then I guess kind of use it and brush it on like a little glaze. That looks really, really nice. So there's a few things you can do. Pretty little cake this is going to be for Christmas. Pretty excited for the puppies. They'll be here soon, and they're due to, I keep them for about 8 weeks, so they're going to be just in time for Christmas. I think they leave here like December 20th. I'm like, they couldn't have asked for a better timing if you ask me. It's in green. Decorating these cakes is pretty relaxing too. I've actually got a bunch of things done for Christmas already, just because, like I said, with the puppies and stuff, and her being due on the 26th, I won't leave her, so there'll always be somebody here 24 hours a day with her. So what I got now, I pretty much got, unless I send my husband or, you know, make him stay home and babysit, puppy sit, whatever. They're super cute. I can't wait. They're all sold, sorry. It's looking pretty, pretty. She got a bunch of recipes that I'm gonna do. I do quite a bit of like cookies and Christmas crack and snowballs and all kinds of things like that. Yeah, and so I plan to do a few more videos for you. I should have a little bit of extra time, you know, not being able to go out once the puppies are here. And if you hear some drilling and stuff, my husband's outside working on the house. He's in there working, he's out there working, I'm in here working. Everybody gotta work at something. I think I probably could have spaced out the cherries with the colors a little better, but it still looks wonderful. And I think, yeah, I think I'm just gonna leave it there. It looks pretty nice. Now, let me try and show you this without spilling it. There you go. Anyway, it's super heavy, so be very careful when you put it in the oven. I'm going to tell you now, I think it's 300, but let me double check. 300 degrees for an hour and a half or 2 hours. So yeah, so once it's cold, you're going to pour a tablespoonful of rum over top of that again. But I think what I'll do is, once my cake is fully baked and cooled, I will actually come back and show you guys how to wrap it up. And I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you guys get a chance to do some baking, and I hope you're having the most beautiful day, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.